Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. Today I feel truly privileged and honored to share a few thoughts on a subject, environment and hygiene. This may not be a new subject for all of you, but at the same time, extensive awareness needs to be created on this particular subject, which today is the need of the hour. Be it industrial pollution, climate change, global warming, and this pandemic which we are going through are all some of the potential threats and hazards for mankind today. The entire humanity is in a state of crisis, and these health hazards are something which the whole world is putting its head together to tackle them. As long as there is going to be, in the name of economic development and greed, exploitation of resources and destruction of natural resources or exploitation of natural resources, as long as they are going to be there, nothing much is going to be achieved, except there's only going to be a hue and cry about it. Our beloved Prophet, 1400 years and not back, who has been an eco-friendly, personified human being, has always cared for the environment and has many a time spoken on this subject, reminding the people of that time how important it is for each and every individual who has a role to play and is responsible to keep this environment safe. In one narration, he has said, "The earth is green and beautiful, and you people are appointed as vicegerents over it," which means you are the owners of this, and therefore you should know how to utilize them. As I said even earlier, overutilization, wastage, or exploitation of resources is most condemnable. And in order to keep this earth green and beautiful, as it has been made and provided to us as a great favor and gift from God the Almighty, it is the responsibility of every human being to ensure that it does its little bit to sustain it in the same way. But due to greed and due to man's ambitions, these natural resources today are not spared. The Prophet has also mentioned 5 things to keep this environment clean and safe. Let us see what they are. Number 1, he said, conserve the resources as much as possible and let there not be any wastage of resources. We need to conserve. We need to conserve all the resources in order that we may pass on a safe and clean environment to the generations and generations to come. Number 2, he also said, let there be sustainable consumption. Let us remember these 3 R's. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Reduce your consumption. Utilize it to the minimum most required, reuse them, and also recycle for a better product. Today, a lot of efforts have gone in this regard, but we need to create this awareness more and more among the people to ensure that these 3 R's are always kept in mind. Number 3, he said plant trees as much as possible, to the extent that he said that even if the day of accountability, the day of the hereafter is going to be established, and even you have a little time left, still plant a tree. That shows how even when mankind is going to face this trauma of the hereafter, even just before that little time you had, also plant trees if you have the time. Which means trees are so important for us to provide us a healthy environment. Trees, as we know, they absorb the carbon and the toxic elements in the air, and they release oxygen. Prophet has said in the same subject, whoever plants a tree and diligently takes care of it until it matures and bears fruit, he shall be amply rewarded. He went on to say in the same breath, whether it be birds, insects, animals, or even human beings who take benefit out of this tree will be considered an act of charity by the person who planted the tree and brought it to that level. Plantation of trees today, we know go green is the slogan. Wherever it is possible, let's plant trees. Trees are very important to maintain a healthy ecosystem. Fourth, he said take care of the animals. Let animals not be hunted for fun and game. Let animals not be exploited. Let animals not be slaughtered beyond the basic requirement, particularly the domestic animals for food. God Almighty has created a balanced system and provided to us. He has made these domestic animals like camels, cattle, goat and sheep consumable for human beings to maintain the ecosystem because they multiply faster. But at the same time, he also said, take due care of them. He once noticed a camel with tears in its eyes. He immediately called its owner and inquired whether he was ill-treating the camel, and when he got the answer in the affirmative by the others, he warned him and said, even about this you will be questioned on the day of Qiyamah, on the day of accountability, as to how you treated those pets and those animals which you possessed. Animals too play a very important role in the ecosystem. And number 5, he said, keep the environment clean and safe. Today we notice there's industrial pollution. How are we going to mitigate this? How are we going to mitigate the carbon and the other pollutants which are completely polluting this environment and creating health hazards for the common man? Various kinds of diseases have emerged today, and there's no end to it, as man and the medical experts are continuing to explore new medicines. At the same time, there should be a parallel effort taken to mitigate the problem as well. Once a man saw a thorny tree in its pathway, and he just took it aside and put it in order that it should not hurt others. It is said by Prophet that God forgave him for this act which he did in order to save other human beings from getting affected. How much do we care about this? Today we find a pit dug and there's no safety measures. Anybody could fall into it. Any vehicle can slip into it and meet with an accident. How many of us take a proactive in making sure that some kind of an indication is placed over there to prevent the people from from meeting with such accidents. We see water stagnating all over, and with mosquitoes breeding there, how much of efforts do we see to ensure that there's no stagnant water in front of our houses or any in our neighborhood, or to at least complain to the civic authorities to make sure that they take up the responsibility of cleaning it up. Likewise, urinating wherever we want today has become a norm, particularly the labor class and the weaker section of the people who do not have the facility of toilets and latrines and who work under the sky. Those are the people who should be provided with clean toilets in order that there's no contamination around, which will complicate and create more problems. So I would like to conclude this small speech of mine, which I wanted to share this information in the light of the life of the beloved prophet who cared for all this, who said hygiene is half of faith. Cleanliness and hygiene is half of your faith. And how much do we care for this? How much do we implement it? And how much are we going to play a proactive role in making sure that we provide a clean environment, not only for the people, but also for the generations to come. And for this, we need to sensitize and create this awareness more and more. And each one of us has to play a responsible role in ensuring that the environment, the natural environment and the natural resources are preserved, conserved for the future generation, and during our lifetime also, that these health hazards which we are encountering on account of these issues will all be able to be mitigated and to the extent even eliminated. Thank you so much for this patient hearing.